And I'll be the person asking.
I'm not in the frame.
Okay.
Am I in the frame?
And
Okay, so what's your name?
my name is Ernest Silva.
Please describe your exhibit for the Children's Museum.
The project is called the Rain House, and the project in the original Children's Museum, or in the last Children's Museum, which was on this site, I was invited in 1994 to submit a project, a proposal for an interactive project, and I came up with this idea of having a small house with water hitting the roof, and just was really thinking about, growing up and thinking about that kind of pleasant sound of rain hitting the roof. And as that project developed, and hopefully this project will do the same things, the house was meant to be an exhibition space and a workshop, and the major themes of the house were to be used for telling family stories, to make paintings, to write poetry, and ideally to exchange those things between the children in San Diego and the children in Tijuana. So part of the project is this kind of meditative space with the sound of water hitting the roof, and it's meant to be part a gallery and part a studio and a place to share conversations.
So why did you decide to do the Rain House again the second time?
Well, I was invited by the museum to make another proposal because in the last Children's Museum it turned out to be a project that people really liked. They found it, what was exhibited in it, they found it really interesting. There was one exhibition of artwork from children from Tijuana where the children drew images of the border from that side. And they had some really beautiful paintings and drawings, and just a really interesting perspective. One of the drawings had the wall with a helicopter at night with the light shining down, and one of the paintings had an image of a tortilleria right by the wall so that people could eat, get their energy to jump over the wall. And they were images of cars crossing the border, and so I think people liked the house itself, and they liked what the house contained, and the fact that it was part of a project between Tijuana and San Diego. So they invited me to make a proposal, and they liked the proposal, so we're doing it again.
So what are the materials that are used to create your art?
In this particular
Yes.
project? Well, the materials to build a house are, relatively conventional materials. They're all things that you can buy at Home Depot. So in a way, what makes the house unique is not the materials, but the design of it. It's meant to be a kind of comfortable, contemplative space, and it has a corrugated plastic roof, so you can really hear the sound of water hitting it, and just kind of subtle touches to make it inviting. And a lot of people say that it reminds them of a kind of tropical house, a house in a benign climate. And then the house contains furniture, so the furniture again is made of conventional materials. And then basically the only thing that is exotic are the artist paints that I use to paint the house and to paint the furniture. So I guess the project is both a house, an invitation to workshops and to show children's artwork. And so it's part material and part, in a way, the introduction to a conversation that takes place in it.
So where did you grow up?
I grew up in Rhode Island. I grew up in Providence, Rhode Island.
How did you get there?
Let's see. Rhode Island is, when I was growing up, and it still is, a series of small ethnic neighborhoods, and it's on the ocean. And I grew up in a house that my grandfather and my uncles built. And when I was growing up as a kid, it was always a goal of mine to build a house of my own. And I never built a real house, so this is as close as I've gotten are the two rain houses. But I thought it was a great place to grow up.
Did it rain a lot there?
It rains a lot more than it does in San Diego, which is not saying a lot because it doesn't rain too much here. Yeah, it rains a lot.
Did you study art in school?
Um, I took my first art class when I was a junior in college, and I took that class because a friend of mine recommended it, and I really, in a way, fell in love with being an artist. And for me, it was a combination of telling stories and using images. And when I was growing up as a kid, I really was a really serious reader. So in a way, I think being an artist is a combination of being a reader, telling stories, and, you know, to make things with my hands.
What was your first piece of artwork?
Well, when you do work, when you take classes, one way to look at it is that it's part art and part classwork, and it's really directed by your teacher. I would say that the first artworks that I made that were really my own were I probably started to make maybe 2 years after I left the university. And, that's when I felt like, you know, this is my style, this is my subject matter, this is my content. So.
What do you listen to or do while you're creating?
Well, I haven't brought any music yet, but ideally I would be listening to, I love American jazz, like Miles Davis and Coltrane, and also I like popular Mexican music, like Julio Jaramillo and cumbias, Mickey Laude, and so far there's so much music in the Children's Museum I haven't had to bring my own music yet, but I will.
What were you like as a teen?
As a teen? As a teenager, I was painfully shy. Spent a lot of time reading. Most of my close friends were involved in sports, playing basketball, playing football, playing hockey. What I say if someone asked me when I was a teenager, what sports do you play? I would say, if you sweat and if you bleed, then I like playing it. So a little bit of everything.
What is your favorite memory of being a teen?
Being a teen?
Favorite memory?
Well, you know, I was a teenager in the late 1960s. So, you know, I have memories of, let's see, seeing Santana in concert, and just a lot of really good music. So, seeing live concerts, Joe Cocker, you know, those things were really exciting. And probably the other memorable moments are probably when I was 19 and I first started to take art classes. That was really exciting to me.
Are there certain people, or were there certain people in your life who either encouraged you or discouraged you about becoming an artist?
I don't remember anybody really discouraging me. Well, actually, the first teacher I took for an art class, no, the second teacher I took an art class with, he suggested that I not become an artist. And I thought I did really well in the class. So that was kind of disappointing, but he was still a great teacher. I learned a lot from him about color. And I guess I've always received encouragement, and my parents were always supportive. Probably secretly and not so secretly frightened that I would never be able to support myself. But I've gotten a lot of support over the years.
Okay, thank you for your time.
I have one
You're
more.
welcome.
After all the work on the rain house, how do you think you'll react if it leaks?
Say that again?
How do you think you'll react if it leaks?
If it leaks. I think leaking is a relatively small problem, because I think probably with a little bit of silicone caulking it can be fixed, and it's so I don't think that's going to be a big problem. I mean, the thing that you hope for as an artist is that people just really want to look at what you make and spend time with it.